And now we have more good news coming out of Russia. Russian citizens under attack, not by Ukrainians, but by their own air defense, there to protect them. Let's look at this. Over the weekend, Belgorod region was recently subjected to Ukrainian airstrikes, targeting their power and energy infrastructure. 40,000 residents reported without electricity after the latest strikes across multiple municipalities. The entire city of Belgorod plunged into a full blackout after attacks on the thermal power plant and substation. Russia did respond with air defense missiles, placed in inopportune places, did not hit their targets, went up and crashed right back down on Russian civilians, blowing up apartment blocks, and we have some pretty good videos of this you can see on screen now. Explosions and sirens reported across the city during these strikes. Russia is now scrambling under wartime sanctions with a lack of material to restore power and deploy backup systems. Without power, there's no sewage, there's no water coming into the sink, there is no modern existence. Those in Western Russia now have to live a weekend like people in Eastern Russia have to, with no indoor toilets. The Pantsir S-1, the best of the best for Russian air defense, or more likely, an aging Soviet relic that is decades older and decades behind what people in the West use. So Russia uses these, of course, to defend the skies, to protect cities, but more and more, we see only misfires, and fragments of these missiles are hitting civilian buildings. We have many instances of missile fragments and missile boosters lodging in apartment walls or just straight blowing them up. This is pretty ironic. These protective systems are turning into weapons against Russia's own civilians. The few air defense systems that aren't defending Putin's palaces and his dragon-like wealth hordes are falling apart and not really doing a good job at the one thing they need to do, defending the skies from drones and missiles coming over from Ukraine. So this recent incident, a fragment, basically the upper stage or booster, of a Pantsir S-1 air defense missile ended up lodged in the facade of a multi-story apartment building in Belgorod. We have a Russian source coming in here now from the local mayor of Belgorod, a very trustworthy source. The damage was largely to the outer wall. Reportedly, no interior walls or windows were destroyed in that building. And if you look at the video here, it's safe to say, I think a window or two got smashed. This was on Yunosti Boulevard, on the outskirts of Belgorod, about 32 kilometers from the Ukrainian border, so 15 miles from my American friends. Not too far. This air defense had uncontrolled paths. So the planning or the officers or whatever was in charge of this air defense unit, instead of having actual plans for these missiles going up and coming back down, they said, screw it. What's a few civilian casualties if we can put in the media that we shot down a Ukrainian drone? And this isn't the first time Russian air defense has caused collateral damage to its own territory. Earlier, reports said the upper block of a Pantsir S-1 rocket flew into a child's room in Belgorod. This is coming from Newsweek. This is a preview. If Putin claims he's defending Russians, defending Russian speakers by invading Ukraine and Donbass, you'd hope the gear wouldn't kill or injure them instead, or how he's protecting Russian speakers in Donetsk right now, where people are literally pooping in bags and getting water delivered in buckets because of the failing infrastructure in these occupied territories. He's really saving those Russian speakers. The regime's incompetence and recklessness have caused civilian harm even before or beyond Ukrainian civilian strikes. Major damage, though, thank God, from Ukrainians to these energy facilities in Russia. The thermal plants and the substations, transmission lines. Over the weekend, Ukraine successfully shut down Belgorod power plants, seemingly used American-supplied HIMARS missiles, causing blackouts. It's crazy when you use Western technology with good fire control and good officers, the missiles hit their targets and don't cause civilian casualties. It's really hard to feel sorry for these Russians when missiles that have been killing Ukrainians for almost 4 years now are turned against them. On screen now is a 15-year-old girl from Lviv, a city in western Ukraine only an hour drive from the Polish border, from a NATO border, who 3 days ago was killed by Russian bombs. She's not anywhere near the front line. This isn't collateral damage. It's blatant terrorism. On October 3rd, 1 died from similar strikes. On October 5th, 5 dead from similar strikes. And if you look back, it goes on and on and on and has for years and years now. Every single day, families ripped apart. But in lighter news, it's getting cold in Russia. Belgorod is not warm in winter, and temperatures are dropping at nighttime, reaching almost freezing. Of course, losing heat and power in such a climate isn't a good thing. Increases suffering, exacerbates cold, illness, discomfort, hospitals can't run. It's bad news. Now, let's look at the tactics. Why are these Ukrainian drones and missiles even flying over Russia? What's the deal? Ukraine is targeting energy nodes and oil infrastructure. Every night, as you can see on your screen now, Ukraine strikes at the war purse that keeps Putin's barbarian invaders in Ukraine supplied with vodka, dried fish, and rusty Soviet-era ammo. Use of drones, missiles, are attempts to degrade Russia's war economy by attacking its internal infrastructure and revenue mechanisms. Russia's response? They claim to intercept these drones. They claim of counterstrikes, but always with frequent civilian collateral damage. And the best part is, these Ukrainian drones reportedly hit the Russian Pantsir systems in the Belgorod region. These are sophisticated, quote, sophisticated air defense systems that, when a drone going 300-400 miles an hour is flying over them, they can't hit it. The missile falls, blows up their own civilians, and then that very drone just coasts down and blows up the air defense unit. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, the level of failure of the Russian regime and the Russian military at this stage. The regime that bombs civilians in Ukraine, then blames others, bears the full moral responsibility. When one supports a system that damages civilian life, one cannot feign victimhood when damage arrives at their doorstep. Ukraine's response is to punch back into Russia's energy network and undermine its war capacity. The Kremlin built this war on the idea of protecting Russian speakers, protecting history, protecting pride. But every burned out transformer, every apartment wall punctured by its own air defense shows what the protection really looks like. When your shield is what breaks your windows and kills your own civilians and flies into children's windows, maybe it's time to question who's doing the protecting. Ukraine strikes refineries, power plants, and ammo depots to weaken an invading army. Russia responds by bombing civilian grids, civilian apartment blocks, and children's hospitals. One side is fighting for survival. The other keeps proving that cruelty and incompetence are its true specialities. So as Belgorod scrambles for generators and blames the weather, remember, this isn't just about missiles or drones, it's about accountability. You can't start a genocidal war, cheer it on, then act surprised when reality comes back home. You can't weaponize suffering and expect immunity from it. In the end, Belgorod doesn't just show Russia's vulnerability, it shows its moral collapse. If there was anything moral to begin with. A country that claims to protect, yet leaves them in the dark, literally and figuratively. But you know what the most ironic part is? The thing that finally wakes them up might not be Western sanctions, or Ukrainian drones, or McDonald's being replaced by Dядя Vanya. It might be the sound of their own air defense crashing through their bedroom wall. That's not tragedy. That's just fucking karma.